To send him home is so damn disrespectful that I'm still looking at the organization, which is the Clippers, which, by the way, deserves to be vilified. If Tyronn Lue has played a role in Chris Paul being sent home, I'm going to criticize him too. And I love Ty Lue. But let me be very, very clear. Chris Paul does not deserve that. You go a flight home. You go back to Los Angeles. You call him into the office. You work out a buyout. You let him part ways with his dignity and you call it a day. After 21 freaking years, you don't do that to him. This is Chris Paul. This is CP3. And I'll talk to Ty Lue at some point about whatever role he may have played in it, and I'll go from there. But as it pertains to Lawrence Frank, let me start in there right now. Since you're the president of basketball operation, you're the boss.
Chris Paul retired because he was ready to choose his family over everything else. That is the truth at the center of this story. The drama with the Clippers, the late-night dismissal, the trade to Toronto, all of that made headlines. But the real reason he walked away was much deeper. After 21 seasons in the NBA, Chris Paul looked at his life and decided it was time to be present at home, not just on a basketball court. By the time the 2025-2026 season began, Chris Paul already knew his career was near the end. He had just completed a full 82-game season with the San Antonio Spurs at 39 years old. Many people thought he was finished before that year even started. They said he was too small, too old, too slow. But he proved he could still run a team, still control the pace, still make the smart pass, still hit the big shot when it mattered. He was not the same explosive player from his New Orleans days, but his mind was still sharp. His leadership was still strong. Even so, something had changed inside him. For 6 straight years, his wife Jada and his children stayed in Los Angeles while he moved from city to city. Oklahoma City, Phoenix, Golden State, San Antonio. Every season meant a new home for him, but not for his family. They stayed in LA so the kids could have stability. That meant missed.
Everybody wants to know, in about 3 weeks, you are going to be an unrestricted free agent officially July 1st. I put you on the IC right from the beginning. So what's the boo? What's the plan?
I honestly don't know. Seriously, I don't. It was a weird place to be in because, last summer I was an unrestricted free agent too, but for most of my career, I've always had an idea of where I was going to play the next year, but no clue.
I think it's fair to say that even though
Birthdays, missed school events, missed normal days that fathers should experience. FaceTime became the way he watched his children grow up. That kind of distance adds up over time. In interviews before the season, Chris Paul spoke honestly. He said he might have 1 year left, maybe at most. He said he had been in the NBA for more than half his life. Think about that. From 2005 to 2026, basketball was his daily routine. Practice, travel, games, film, recovery, pressure. He gave everything to the sport. But he also made it clear that he loved his family more than basketball. That was not just something he said for the cameras. You could see it in his voice. When he became a free agent in the summer of 2025, he signed a 1-year deal with the Los Angeles Clippers. On paper, it made perfect sense. His family lived in Los Angeles. He had played some of the best years of his career with the Clippers from 2011 to 2017. It felt like a full-circle moment, one final season at home, one last ride in front of fans who had cheered for him for years. It looked like the perfect ending. But the season did not go the way anyone expected. The Clippers started the year 6-20. That is not just a slow start. That is a collapse. Losing creates stress. Stress creates tension, and tension inside a locker room can break a team apart. Chris Paul has always been intense. He demands focus. He demands effort. He demands accountability. That is part of what made him great. He sees the game like a coach. He studies details. He notices mistakes, and he speaks up. This time, that approach caused problems. Reports said there was friction between Chris Paul and head coach Tyronn Lue, along with assistant coach Jeff Van Gundy. There were disagreements about strategy, practice time, and defensive schemes. Some felt Chris Paul was stepping.
you are playing at a high level, that you're in the twilight of your NBA career. So how much longer do you intend to play?
At the most a year. I just finished my 20th season, which is a blessing in itself. I've been in the NBA for more than half of my life, which is a blessing. But these years you do not get back with the kids, with your family. My granny, who watches every single game that I play every single night, those moments, I just don't get to see her and hug her alone with all my uncles and aunts as much as I love to.
Beyond his role as a player, others believed he was simply trying to fix problems he saw on the court. Kendrick Perkins later spoke about what he heard from inside the organization. He claimed that Chris Paul would sometimes give players instructions that were different from what coaches had just told them. There was a specific game where a coach called the defensive play during a timeout. When the players returned to the floor, Chris Paul reportedly told a young teammate to do something else. The player followed Chris Paul's advice and struggled on the possession. Moments like that build frustration. The coaching staff reportedly had meetings with him. They told him to stop going around them. They wanted unity. They wanted one voice. But according to reports, the tension did not fade. The trust between player and coaches weakened. Then came the moment that shocked everyone. On December 3, 2025, during a road trip, the Clippers told Chris Paul at 3 in the morning that he was being sent home. No big meeting in Los Angeles, no farewell speech, just a late-night decision. For a 21-year veteran and future Hall of Famer, the timing felt cold. Many analysts criticized the way it was handled. Stephen A. Smith said it showed a lack of respect. He argued that a player of Chris Paul's level deserved better treatment. Chris Paul later described the situation as crazy. He admitted he did not want it to end like that. Remember, he came back to the Clippers to be close to his family and finish his career with pride. Instead, he was removed in the middle of the night while the team was struggling. 2 months later, on February 4, 2026, the Clippers traded him to the Toronto Raptors in a 3-team deal. It was clear that the move was about contracts and salary cap space, not basketball. Chris Paul never even reported to Toronto. 9 days later, the Raptors waived him. On February 13th,
Dude, Chris Paul just retired. Like, the point guard? Yeah, man. 21 years in the league. Yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, I know, right? 21 years in the league. 21 years of mid. What? Yeah, dude. He never won a ring. He had 21 years to win a ring. He had to play against the best team in NBA history in his prime. And he choked in the finals. He took the Phoenix Suns to the finals. He's a journeyman at best, bro. He'll never be remembered for anything. He was the captain of Lob City. And Lob City never won a ring, so who really cares about it? They played against the best dynasty in NBA history. Yeah, and then once again on the Rockets, he choked in the conference finals. Because he got hurt. If he's healthy, they probably win the finals that year. Dude ended his career on the Raptors. His legacy isn't any better than Bob Cousy. You said Chris Paul's legacy isn't better than who? He's like if Trae Young couldn't shoot threes. I am going to punch you.
2026, Chris Paul announced his retirement. In his message, he did not attack the Clippers. He did not blame coaches. He did not complain about management. Instead, he spoke about gratitude. He thanked the game of basketball. He thanked his father for introducing it to him. He thanked fans and teammates. And then he made one thing clear. He could not continue unless he was home with his family. He said the best teammate he could be now was to his wife and children. That is the real reason he retired. Yes, the Clippers' situation was messy. Yes, being sent home at 3 a.m. probably hurt. Yes, being traded as a contract instead of a player was disappointing. But those events only sped up a decision that was already forming in his heart. He had already said he had 1 year left at most. He had already said family came first. When you look at his career, the numbers are incredible. Over 12,000 assists, second all-time behind Stockton. Over 2,700 steals, also second behind Stockton. 12 All-Star selections, 11 All-NBA elections, 9 All-Defensive Team honors, Rookie of the Year in 2006, 2 Olympic gold medals, a member of the NBA 75th anniversary team. He turned struggling franchises into playoff teams. He helped lead the Phoenix Suns to the NBA Finals in 2021. He controlled games with pace and intelligence. The only thing missing was a championship ring. Critics will always mention that. But basketball is a team sport. Winning a title depends on health, timing, and sometimes luck. Chris Paul came close. He competed at the highest level for 2 decades. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver praised him as a leader and a steward of the game. LeBron James, his longtime friend, showed love publicly. Players across the league respected him because they understood how hard it is to last 21 seasons at that level. In the end, this was not a story about conflict. It was a story about priorities. Chris Paul spent more than half his life chasing excellence on the court. He traveled constantly. He studied film late at night. He played through injuries. He carried pressure. But children grow up quickly. time does not pause. He looked at his life and decided that the next chapter mattered more than one more season. He could have tried to sign with another team after being waived. A contender might have offered a small role, but that would mean more travel, more time away, more missed moments. And after everything he had given, he did not want that anymore. Some fans will always focus on the drama. They will argue about whether the Clippers were wrong. They will debate if Chris Paul was too demanding. They will talk about management decisions from the past. But when Chris Paul reflects on his career years from now, the loudest memory will not be the 3 a.m. dismissal. It will be walking into his house after retirement and knowing he no longer has to leave. He retires as one of the greatest point guards ever. His legacy is secure. His name will be called in the Hall of Fame. His highlights will play for generations. Young guards will study his footwork and decision-making. Coaches will show clips of his leadership. And now, instead of planning road trips and practice schedules, he can plan school drop-offs. He can sit in the stands at games. He can be present for the moments that do not show up on the stat sheet. That is why he retired. Not because he was pushed out, not because he lost his love for basketball, but because he understood that seasons end, careers end, and championships fade. Family does not. Chris Paul gave the NBA 21 years. Now he is giving his time to the people who stood by him through every trade, every win, and every loss. That is the real reason he walked away. And when you look deeper at everything that happened, you begin to see how heavy those final months must have felt for him. Imagine spending your entire adult life being known as the point guard, the leader, the voice in the locker room, the man who controls everything on the floor. Then suddenly, you are no longer in control of how your story ends. That is not easy for someone like Chris Paul. For most of his career, he controlled the pace of the game. He decided when to slow it down and when to attack. He knew every angle, every matchup, every weakness in the defense. Teammates trusted him because he saw things before they happened. Coaches trusted him because he prepared harder than almost anyone. That level of control becomes part of your identity. So when the Clippers situation fell apart, it was not just about basketball. It was about pride. It was about respect. It was about a man who had given years to a franchise, feeling like the ending was rushed and cold. Even if retirement was already in his heart, no one wants their final chapter to feel messy. But here's what makes Chris Paul different from many others. He did not respond with anger. He did not go on a media tour attacking people. He did not create more drama. He stayed calm. He stayed focused. And when he made his retirement announcement, it was filled with peace. That tells you everything. Because when someone is truly at peace with a decision, they don't need to shout about it. They don't need to defend it. They simply move forward. There's also something important about timing. Chris Paul retired in February 2026, not at the end of the season. That shows you that once he realized the path forward was unclear and that another move would mean more distance from his family, he did not hesitate. He did not drag it out for attention. He did not wait for a perfect farewell tour. He chose clarity over spotlight. And that says a lot about growth. When he entered the league in 2005 with the New Orleans Hornets, he was a young star full of fire. He wanted to win every argument, every possession, every battle. Over time, that fire never disappeared, but it matured. He became president of the NBA Players Association. He fought for players' rights. He spoke up in big meetings. He learned how to balance strength with wisdom. By the time he retired, he understood something many athletes struggle to accept. There is life after the game. For years, people asked if he would coach one day. Others believed he would move into broadcasting because of how well he understands the game. Some think he could work in the front office because of his knowledge and leadership skills. Whatever he chooses, he will succeed. But for now, it seems clear that his focus is simple. Be present. Be home.
And let's not forget what 21 seasons in the NBA really means. That is over 1,200 regular season games. That is thousands of practices. That is constant travel across time zones. That is physical pain that fans never fully see. Ankles, hamstrings, shoulders. Recovery becomes harder as the years pass. The body does not bounce back the same way at 39 as it does at 25. He pushed his body for 2 decades. That alone is exhausting. There is also the emotional weight of coming close to a championship and falling short. In 2021, when he helped lead the Phoenix Suns to the NBA Finals, many people believed that was his moment. He was 2 wins away from a ring, but the Milwaukee Bucks came back and won the series. That loss stayed with him. You could see it in his face during the post-game interviews. Coming that close and not finishing the job can either break a player or fuel them. For Chris Paul, it fueled him to keep competing. But eventually, even the strongest competitors have to look at the bigger picture. He retires ranked near the top in assists and steals. That is not luck. That is discipline. That is focus. That is preparation. Assists show vision and trust. Steals show awareness and timing. Those two numbers alone tell the story of a player who understood both offense and defense at a high level. He made teammates better everywhere he went. The Hornets became relevant. The Clippers became Lob City. The Rockets pushed deep into the playoffs. The Suns returned to the finals. Even teams that did not win championships improved when he arrived. That impact is part of his legacy. Some fans will debate where he ranks among point guards. They will mention Magic Johnson. They will mention Stephen Curry. They will mention John Stockton and Isaiah Thomas. Those debates will continue for years. But what cannot be debated is that Chris Paul belongs in that conversation. And maybe that is enough. Maybe the true measure of success is not just rings. Maybe it's consistency. Maybe it's respect from peers. Maybe it's lasting more than 2 decades in the toughest basketball league in the world. When the news of his retirement broke, players around the league showed love. That kind of reaction does not happen unless someone has earned it. Young guards thanked him for setting the standard. Veterans respected his grind. Even rivals acknowledged how hard he was to guard. Because everyone knew when you played against Chris Paul, you had to be sharp. He would test your focus every possession. Now the court is quiet for him. No more pregame warm-ups, no more huddles, no more last-second plays drawn in the sand of a timeout. Instead, he can wake up without checking a practice schedule. He can plan vacations during the season. He can attend school events without worrying about a back-to-back game the next night. And that kind of freedom is powerful. When athletes retire, there is often fear. Fear of losing identity, fear of fading from the spotlight, fear of regret. But Chris Paul seems prepared. He already said what matters most, his family. In the end, the Clippers drama will become a small footnote in a long career. Years from now, when highlights play on television, people will not focus on the 3 a.m. decision. They will focus on the no-look passes, the clutch mid-range shots, the steals and big moments, the leadership. History remembers impact more than controversy. Chris Paul walked away because he chose peace over pressure. He chose presence over pursuit. He chose to be a father and husband full-time instead of a player part-time. That is not weakness. That is strength. And maybe that is the strongest move he ever made.